All right, we'll be picking up where we left off on Monday. We were talking about the increase of carbon dioxide due to human activities and how that was causing a rise in carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, but also that this carbon dioxide was being absorbed by the ocean and at the surface where the interaction is between the ocean and the atmosphere, we're seeing a decrease in pH because there's more hydrogen ions. All right, so the carbon dioxide is mixing with the water, and there's a cascading of a couple of carbon or a couple of uh, chemical reactions. Those chemical reactions are leading to an increase in hydrogen ions. Right, so that creates a more acidic environment, a lower pH, and it is having an impact on marine life. Okay, so continuing to talk about that, um, we are going to talk about fish. So, some fish are not able to detect predators in these waters that have a lower pH. So, the sensory organs of the fish, like their sense of smell, so to speak, or their ability to detect electrical signals is not as sharp in these lower pH waters. And then the example they're giving here is that those clownfish, kind of like the Nemo type fish who hide in anemones, they have to figure out what is the right place to hide, right? Which anemone, which type of um, you know anemone in the coral is the best place to hide. If they're not able to find those, through their detection organs, their electrical and smell organs, then they can't hide, and predators can then get them. All right. So also with these same clownfish, these Nemo type fish, right? They can't distinguish between the different anemone habitats. Well, that's what I just said. Um, but what they get it confused with is unfavorable habitats like mangroves. So mangroves are a type of tree, you know, and those are not a good habitat for the clownfish. They need to be within the anemone because the anemone is another living creature that is actually able to defend itself against other fish. If the clownfish hides within it, it's protected. If it's not hiding within an anemone, then its bright coloring and its lack of defenses makes it very easy prey for predators. All right. Um, so this acidity, right? This lower pH, it does not allow them to distinguish the smell of their own species and the smell of predators, right? So they might, see fish in the distance and not be able to tell if it's one of their own or if it's a predator, right? So while they're, trying to determine if that's friend or foe, and they're not able to use smell to make that determination, they're kind of wasting time that they could be finding a place to hide or fleeing if it is actually a predator. Okay. So when you have these small organisms, might think, okay, so clownfish are cute, but does it really matter? It does. So if you start decimating and, like killing off the prey, right, the small creatures that are the basis of the food web, that change, that decimation is going to translate through the rest of the food web, meaning that if there's not enough food for the larger predators, then those larger predators are going to suffer as well. Okay, so is there any advantage? So the only ones that would probably be seeing this as an advantage are the plant life of the ocean. So, photosynthetic algae, seagrasses, just like any plants, they need carbon dioxide to live, just like the plants on land. So, they take in carbon dioxide, they do photosynthesis. So, this is going to be advantageous to the plants, but you know, that's not going to help us very much. All right, so what's the future look like? If we continue the way we are going right now, which we call business as usual, then by the end of the century, by the year 2100, the surface waters of the ocean could be 150% more acidic. And we haven't seen acidity like that in 20 million years. All right, so we might think that these changes in pH don't seem big to us, but it causes different effects actually, that we can't really even predict. We can see some of these changes happening in the interactions between different fish species, in the growth of algae and seagrasses, but what else is going to happen, we don't know. We don't know. We haven't seen this in 20 million years. So that's, very alarming, very alarming. Okay, so we are seeing the effects already across the oceans, but where it's going to be affecting us more than anything else is along the coasts. So the coastal estuaries, which are the interactions between where freshwater and ocean water meet and the marine life at that area, and then the waterways where we're doing our fishing and transportation, we're going to see effects right there. Okay, a billion people, more than a billion people, rely on food from the ocean as their primary source of protein. Right? There's an abundance of life in the ocean. And so, and we do have a lot of our cities and human populations that live near the ocean. So, about 20% of the world's population receives at least one fifth of its animal protein from fish. Okay. Very good source of protein, doesn't require a lot of land and farming and everything. So, it's a great source of food for people on the earth. And to get those fish, that's a job for a lot of people. So many jobs and economies, like, whole towns and cities will have their economies partially based on the fishing industry in their area. So that we depend on that to keep our economies going. All right. And we really are just beginning to see the effects of carbon dioxide emissions into the atmosphere on the oceans. Like I said on Monday, we just started monitoring this back in the late 50s. And that's when we were monitoring the carbon dioxide emissions and the content of the carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, the effect in the oceans, we didn't start looking at until the late 70s, early 80s. So we really have just begun to really see the effect in data on this. So predicting what is going to happen, it's really difficult. We've never seen anything like this. We don't know what's going to happen. But we have already seen changes in, the small prey population. And yesterday, you saw that the the shells of the creatures that in the ocean that create shells, those shells are affected. You saw that when we put the shells in the salt water versus the acidifying ocean water, you saw bubbles in the acidifying ocean water. That's a sign of a chemical reaction, right? So that chemical reaction is actually the acid interacting with the calcium carbonate in the shell and breaking it down, pulling that carbon calcium carbonate out of the shell and taking it into something else and leaving the shell without the calcium carbonate, thereby making it weaker. So if you have a weaker shell, you don't have as much protection. Now you are prey to predators in a way that you weren't before. Okay, so that's going to decimate that part of the population of the marine life as well. What's the effect of that? We're going to see. Unfortunately, we're going to see this. All right, let's see. So hopefully, and I did get this slide presentation off the internet. They're saying, scientists, resource managers, and policymakers recognize the urgent need to strengthen the science as a basis for sound decision making and action. This is a very hopeful statement. We'll see if they actually do this. But yeah, we need to look at the data and say, this is what's happening. Whatever it is that's happening, this is what's happening. And let's make our decisions based on that. So if you remember and you have it in your packet, the graph that shows the carbon dioxide in the atmosphere going up, the um, the hydrogen ion levels in the ocean going up, therefore the pH is going down. This is happening, right? It's a fact. There's no, if, ands, or buts about this. There's no YouTuber in the world that can, say this is not happening and be truthful at the same time. So this is happening. What are the effects of it? We'll see. We'll see. All right, and that's the end of this presentation. If you haven't finished the questions from the lab from yesterday, please do those, right? Please answer those questions. There was one group yesterday, period 5, that may have left their shells overnight because we got a little bit of a late start with 5th period being the first period of the day. So if you need to take your shells and take them out of the water, you can dump the water into the sinks, and then put the cup. You can throw the cups away. Take your shells and weigh each one individually after you've wiped them down. You don't want to be weighing the water. You just want to weigh the shell, right? When you're done with the shells, please bring the shells back up to the front. And then also the pH papers, bring those to the front. Okay, so remember, before you dump out your water, take the pH of the water, then dump out the water, then weigh the shells, get your mass of the shells, and then finish the questions from yesterday. All right, so that's what you can do the rest of the period. And then tomorrow, we'll go over that last bit about the acid test. There's a video for you guys to watch, and we'll watch that, discuss that, and finish off the packet tomorrow. And then Friday, you'll have your quiz for the week, right? And then on Friday, we'll also discuss what else is happening for the rest of the semester. We're getting really close. Oh, one last thing. Actually, I'll go to Google Classroom and see that you can see all my tabs up. All right, go back to, and this is just for period 1, but for everybody else, you have the same thing posted in Google Classroom. The Mad Teen Influencer. There we go. The Mad Teen Influencer Summit. That is this weekend on Saturday. And we're looking at getting more people here. And for those of you who would like to get extra credit, I'll be giving 200 points extra credit for this. So to get your extra credit, you need to register. Okay, so you can use the QR code that's here that you see on the bottom right side. Use that QR code and register. And then you also need to show up and be there the whole day. Okay, so that's how you get your 200 points. It's this Saturday from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. right here at Desert Hot Springs High School. It says Public Safety Academy. That's who is helping to organize and implement this. but it's actually taking place in the theater, in the ROTC rooms, in the black box. Adults are welcome as well. There will be a presentation for any parents that might be there. If you have little siblings and your parent can't come because you have little siblings they have to take care of, we're actually going to have some PSA cadets on hand to watch the little ones while the parents and the older siblings like you attend the event. Okay, so hopefully we'll see some of you there, and make sure you register. So extra credit this weekend, attend the annual Teen Influencer Summit. I've also tried to work with Miss Johnson on getting Saturday school credit, so getting one of your absences cleared for attending this. All right. And if you have questions, I'll be back tomorrow on Thursday for you to ask any questions. All right, that's it for today. Just finish the questions from yesterday in the packet, and we will finish the rest of the packet tomorrow.